But yeah, size 12 on this brush. I want it to be kind of thick, but I don't want it to be like super big of an outline. And that's kind of where I'll do like the neck and all the other like kind of parts. Anything like bigger, like the shoulder, I'll probably do with a bigger brush. I try my best to have like a minimum size 10 brush, and that's I want to I feel like that gives me the best line weight to work with, you know. And you might not be an artist that likes to work with thicker lines, but I really like, especially since I work with a lot of comics and stuff like that, I like my lines to be a little thick. And you can kind of see why. I'll probably show you in a sec, but like why that makes a big difference. But you can already see like that kind of makes that unique style. These kind of almost brush strokes on the character. Um, for the hair, I'm gonna go with a size 8. For like the thinner portions of the character, you want, thinner brushes. But I really only use like the smaller brushes just for like fine detail and stuff. It's the same if you were using, pens and stuff. You'd want to use like the bigger pens for the thicker outlines and stuff like that. I know it sounds kind of like common sense, but it's stuff that you might not necessarily think about while you're drawing. So it's just stuff that I like to point out that I do. And again, you might have your own preferences and your own way that you like to draw, the way you like your lines to look. But I'm just explaining my process right now. So yeah, you can see how well this kind of thinner brush is working on some of these thinner areas, and that does look very anime-esque. And I know earlier I was like I wasn't rocking with it, but I think right here it kind of works. Let me have it so that he's kind of looking more directly at Matt. Hmm. Let's see. Okay, so my computer's acting up. Yeah, that's one of the only things I don't like about this computer is just like sometimes it'll like give me like a notification and it'll just stop me in the middle of a pen stroke or something like that. And I'm just like, bro, I do not care. All right, so let's go with a size 10, bring that out. And yeah, this is really looking like Cody. Let's see. Go for a slightly thinner brush. Get these little ears. Ears are weird. I just kind of like to make this little like circular shape at the bottom. There's like one kind of bridge in the middle and then like another bridge up top. That's how I do it. If you look at like anybody that's drawing a character, whether it be like cartoons, anime, the ears are always just different. All right, so I'm gonna go with a size 10. I'm gonna start doing the like shirt slash jumpsuit part. And I'm gonna go with for the insides, I'm gonna go with like a size 15. For the outside, I'm gonna attempt like size 20. And we really want this arm to have like thicker lines just for the fact that it's the thing that's doing a lot of the motion right here. And it's probably the closest thing to us in like in actuality. So yeah, and then we're gonna like take it down a little bit where it like connects. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'm gonna use that same like size 15 right there, right here. And I'm gonna have like this little just kind of these defining edges on the inside where you can kind of see his chest, his collarbones. And I'm gonna go back to size 20 for this shoulder. I'm gonna go to 15 for like where this connects to here. And all of these aren't like the best explanations, but just bear with me. I'm gonna do 17 for like this little midsection right here. And you can kind of see what I was talking about where it's like thicker around here. It gives it more dimension, I feel like. And something else I like to do where it's like parts like this, I kind of like to give like these little hatches where the muscles are. I don't know, to me that kind of feels more like a comic. Give some hatches around his bicep, under the chest area. They're kind of like these little shadows. I should probably put them in a different layer, but it's a vector layer, so I could always fix it if I needed to. But yeah, this is like one of the fun parts because you're just kind of tracing over your own drawing. It's not a lot of the trial and error is taken out of the piece because you've already done the trial and error part. So you just kind of have to finish it off. The hardest thing about this is just kind of keeping your brush straight in all honesty, but if that's the most you have to deal with, that's not really much. I'm gonna make the legs a little bit thicker. The legs are kind of like the biggest part of your body, especially like the thighs. They're like the biggest. They have the biggest bone in your body. So let's see. All right, now I'm gonna do the arm or this other bottom part of the arm. Let's see. Hit P. And I'm gonna go with 15 on the bottom of this arm as well. I'm gonna actually bring this up right here. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. And I know I'm doing this like a few times, but you wanna get the line right, right? You want it to be as smooth as possible because you can always go back and change it. But if it's all wiggly and stuff like that, it kind of messes up the overall piece. You want this to be as smooth as possible, and since you're working in a digital media that lets you manipulate the outlines, there's not too much excuse for your lines to be all jagged and stuff unless you want them to be. So it's kind of like attention to detail, just having pride in your artwork. And then I'm going to use a smaller brush for these hands just for the fact that they're more lost for words. They're more intricate parts of the body, for lack of better word. Fingers are a lot smaller than a bicep or something like that. So you have to use, smaller brushes. Even like when I'm drawing this right here, like if I get too big in these fingers, then it'll just throw it off. So, you know, keep the fingers kind of thin. But yeah, you can kind of see where everything's coming together. I'll probably put like some more hatches under this chin right here. I don't like how it's doing that. Hold on. I'm gonna get a thinner brush and then do some of these hatches under the chin. I feel like that'll be yeah. So it's kind of getting like this comic-y kind of feel to it. Trying to see what else I want to do. I did kind of forget about the chain and stuff like that. So, but it's not the most important thing. So as long as I have like a kind of round, I don't like how that looks. As long as I have like this kind of round, almost cylindrical shape, you know, you'll know that there's handcuffs on him. He's got a prison jumpsuit. You don't have to be too intricate about it. It's crazy that I'm just now finding out that I don't know how to draw handcuffs of all things, but that's another thing about just drawing. It kind of forces you to know your strengths and your weaknesses, especially when you're drawing new things that you've never drawn before. You're like, oh, I didn't know how to draw that. So it's always fun. It's a process, but you kind of have to trust the process. Don't shy away from anything new. It'll only make you better as an artist. Or that's not even just art. You just have to try new things. No, don't be afraid to try anything new. Leads to new experiences. You'll learn a lot of new things. So I know I'm just like drawing two fictional vigilantes fighting, but and trying to give like philosophical life advice or whatever. But you know, yeah. So now I'm just kind of dialing in this hand. It looks a little off to me, but I kind of like it at the same time. I'll probably make those lines a little bit thicker, but yeah, let me see. I'm gonna draw these little bones where the legs connect and all that. And then I don't think I'm gonna actually draw the stripes. I think I'll like do the actual like coloring part first, and then I'm going to like just color those on there. I don't have to like draw them right now. So I'm gonna do his pipe, and then I'm gonna go on to Daredevil. So right now you can see how Cody's getting like the outline, how my style is coming in, and I really like it. I really Now the pipe I also want to have a thick outline on just because this is where the impact is coming in. Uh I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. There's so much I could do with this. But let me go with the inside first. I feel like that's the let me try something right quick. I wanna because if I go straight here and then outward, I'm just trying to mm, that definitely gives it like some shape. But let's keep this simple. So I probably should have drawn this a little bit better in like the early stages, but I think I can work with this. So I'm gonna make it kind of thick in this mid portion and then thin back out. Oh, this is hard because I gotta like really keep my brush straight on this one. I think that works. So what I'm basically doing is like making like one really quick kind of range of motion because the slower you go with it, the harder it'll be to keep your brush straight. So, and I kind of like that. Let's see. I don't like how it's like kind of disconnecting right there. So I'm gonna click that, bring it in, and like I said, you can just manipulate whatever you draw on here with this software. So if you've never experimented with digital art and you're an artist, I would definitely say it's really fun to get into. So let's see. I'm gonna go with a smaller brush on this part and just kind of connect these. All right, and then I'm gonna hit my vector eraser just to like get some of these thinner parts that aren't completely connected. But yeah, yeah. So he's got his little PVC pipe. He's bringing it down, and then it's kind of big in the middle. I like that, and I can add all kind of effects and stuff to it later. But for right now, Cody's done. The outline for Cody is done. I know like the chin isn't quite connected, but I think I'll leave it like that. It might make it cooler later. So thank God I put that in the right layer because if I would have had to start that over, I would have been mad. But we're gonna do another vector layer and then we're gonna do Daredevil. So let's see. All right, so I'm gonna go with a size 12 again, and let's see how these eyebrows look on a size 12. Yeah, I think I want a smaller size. Let's go with size 10 for the eyebrows. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, let's see. And I'm just kind of trying to trace over these. these areas that I was working with before. I'm gonna do a size 12 for the chin, or not the chin, but that kind of jawline. Same thing with this other side, and just have the line weight fluctuate. All right, I'm gonna go with this ear, bring it in. I'm gonna go with a smaller brush for the horns. I'm gonna do a size 8. I really don't want to go any lower than 8 for like the important features, and I think the horns are definitely an important feature. They're pretty small on him, but he's Daredevil. You got to see the horns. So yeah, let's see. And so I'm gonna bring this head over, and I'm gonna do the other horn. Let's see. Yeah, so I got two horns, and then I'm gonna kind of try to do this little, yeah, do his eyes. Like I said, this is the fun part. This is one of the less stressful parts. You're just kind of cleaning up things, locking in the shapes and everything. So let me fix up this grin a little bit. Something about it just seems out of character. I like that a bit better. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like a cocky kind of Nike swoosh grin. It fits Matt. It really does fit Matt. So all right, and then I'm gonna let's hit P. And then I'm gonna try a size 15 for like this neck portion. Go back down for this kind of connecting part of the neck. And again, I don't know. I'm not the greatest with anatomy, so if I'm mispronouncing something, give me some leeway. And then just gonna draw this fist. I want to make the fist just a little bit smaller in certain areas. The perspective of the fist is a little off too, but since I'm not using a reference, it's kind of hard to envision where it's supposed to be. But yeah, all right. So I got the fist locked in, and I want the cane to also be kind of like Cody's pipe to where it's thicker, especially in the middle, because that's where that kind of energy is being transferred from character to character. So let's see. I'm gonna try a size 20 brush. Don't like how that came out. All right. Yeah, and this is like I said, this is like one of the hardest parts, just keeping your brush straight. I know there's like a stabilization thing, and I can always come back and tweak it later. I think that's straight though. I think that's straight. It's not the most, like straight thing, but we'll let it work for right now. And then I'll get this end of the cane, and then I'll just kind of round it out at the end and hit my erase tool, and then just get these little end pieces, right? Let me see if I can get that part too. Yeah, 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 yeah. So I gotta straighten it out a little bit, but also gotta bring in this area. Like I said, just that's one benefit of like digital art. You just get to move around the marks you make. Whereas if you had like a pen and ink drawing, and I'm really good at pen and ink drawings, but once you put that mark down, it's there like forever. There are like certain tools you can use to erase pen, but it's not the same. All right, so let's get this chest area. Kind of gonna just use a thicker brush for all of these areas. All right, and then I'm gonna overlap any of Cody's parts because that's the only way, because they're in different layers. So that's the only way the computer can really tell, like, hey, this is supposed to connect here, if that makes any sense. And I'm going to use a size 20 for this outline that's kind of on the outside. Let's go 17 for this side. Get this shoulder, this area where the chest connects. I really like this kind of dynamic superhero pose he's got going on. I really nailed that. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I was cooking. Chat, am I cooking? I love asking chat stuff. There's like one benefit to like streaming stuff. You just get to ask the chat stupid stuff. I really like drawing on stream because it's one, it like lets me know what I'm doing. It kind of gives me intention to what I'm doing. But, it's also just kind of like it's just fun. And thanks to again to anybody that's like showed up, and even if you're like just, playing this in the background, just trying to get the view count up, either way, I really appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna do this belt. And then whatever this little holster is on the other end. And I didn't use too much. I used some references for this for like Daredevil and Cody, but I'm mostly just doing my own thing for them. Like you really want to make the characters yours. Now, clearly these aren't mine. I don't want to get sued by Disney or Capcom or anything, but you want to try to own your drawing. It may not be your characters, but they are your drawing. So, all right, and then just kind of bringing in the fist. And I'm gonna make like this little line because Daredevil does have gloves. All right, all right, all right. So I'm gonna finish up like some of these kind of muscle areas, for lack of a better word. Just kind of, I should probably use a smaller brush. Let me use a smaller brush for these. And I also want to do like the little Daredevil logo. I'll probably do that in a separate layer. All right, I think that's looking good. I think that's looking good. So yeah, this looks sick. This looks really sick. I'm glad I'm doing this today. I think once I do like some more effects, that'll really set it off. But for right now, I think it's looking nice. There's a few parts I'm missing though. So like this kind of part where the nose connects the mask. There we go. So there's that. Let me bring his chin up right here. And then I forgot some of the chain. I'm gonna put a singular like just D shape on this chest. Yeah. I don't want to. I feel like the 2Ds looks kind of stupid. I don't know. I don't. I've never really liked the little 2Ds. Um. Now this kind of does like look Danny Phantom as. What if I actually? Because I was kind of thinking of this too. What if I put like a smaller, just D? Let me put it a little bit higher. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'll leave it right there. Let me see. Let me do one more thing. Uh, Let me just duplicate the layer right quick and see how it will look if I move both of these. Jeez. a lot of, like I said, a lot of trial and error just goes into making this stuff. But all right, I don't like that. I'd rather him just look like Danny Phantom. All right, so now we have our outlines. We have our outlines, and we have our characters. They look like the characters. Um, One other thing, because I'm just now noticing like the little hatch lines on Cody. I didn't do any for Daredevil, so let's add a few of those, and I'll mostly add them to Daredevil. Like I don't like that, but yeah, I'll mostly add them like I usually add them like in the shadowy kind of areas where I know there's gonna be like shadows and stuff, or maybe like where the muscles kind of are. I don't know why exactly I put them there. I just feel like it fits those areas. Sometimes you just do stuff and don't know why you do it, okay? There's intention behind it. I just don't know what the intention was. Yeah, and I feel like this gives it that kind of what like maybe like 60s to those early comic book vibes, you know? All right, so and I'm just kind of adding them, even though I didn't have like a line here, I just kind of know this is where some muscle would be. So, boom, that's me add some more to Cody. And then there's one other thing I got to do to Cody actually, outside of just a few extra lines. I forgot to actually, draw out his chains and stuff. So, like I said, they're just chains. I didn't even finish off the. I'm slipping, dog. I'm like, did I put these in the same layer? Oh my goodness, I put them in the same layer. Uh, okay, actually, no, that's not that bad. Okay, so I'm just gonna bring this tool around, Control X to cut, and then I'm gonna Control V it in the right layer. There we go. So now it's all in the right. Okay, I'm gonna merge these layers, and now they should all be in the right layer. Uh, okay, so now, and crap. I'm gonna make sure to select anything that's not Cody. Control X to. Okay, okay. Let's try this. Oh my gosh, I can definitely do this, but I'm trying to. Okay, I know what to do. I know what to do. I'm gonna duplicate this layer. I'm gonna try my best to select anything that's not Cody or his weapon. And then I'm gonna control X. Uh crap. And then okay, I'm gonna control V that. What did I just do? Let me see something. I didn't kind of okay. I'm gonna merge these layers and hope I did right. I did not. Okay, I know what I did. I gotta merge it with the Daredevil layer. Okay, now for the most part, I have it. And see, this is why you want to make sure you have your layers under control because it could set you back and then it can make you lost. All right, so the only thing now is that I kind of messed up how the poll works. I don't think it's that big of an issue right now, though. So I'll just let it rock how it is. And if I need to fix it later, I will. So now, now I can color. No, no, I can't. No, I can't. No, I can't. I, I have to let me see which layers. Okay, so I'm gonna do his other handcuff. I'm almost done with him though, but I'm gonna do his other handcuff. Mm, I'll let that rock for right now. I can fix it later. But like I said, the chains don't they aren't the most important thing, so you don't want to put too much time into like the less, important things. But I'm just kind of gonna draw these like chain links. I should probably use a smaller brush. Let's see. And I'm just gonna go down. And these are something I could fix up later. I hate drawing chain links. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is gonna be not that fun. So bear with me because they're so like tedious. Me hand drawing them is gonna make them look interesting, but dog, this is like not fun. This is probably like the most not fun part that I've done all day. And again, they don't have to be perfect. They're not the most important thing in the piece, but geez. Let's see. And I'm just trying to make them look s- for the most part alike. And I know they're like overlapping. That's something I can change as I go along though. And you want to at least how I'm doing it, you want to keep them kind of ovular, ovular. You want to have them oval shaped, you know. Dang, I don't like that. Oh, this is a pain. Okay, let me skip. Let me go to this side. Let me go to this side. That might help. Again, this would definitely be a benefit to doing like custom brushes. The only thing about that is I feel like that would be a little bit less convincing if they came from a custom brush. Let me lower this size again, bro. This is why did I do this to myself? I could have easily drawn him without the chains, but then that would be lame. Yeah, you want to try to go all out. Anytime you draw something, like just draw it to the best of your abilities. And you'll always get better. I feel like this is a lot better than a lot of things I made, but there's definitely a lot of things that I've made that are way better than this. Um, but as long as you're improving, as long as you're learning something and getting better at something, I think that's all that really matters. These are some interesting looking chains, but let's see. And I just want to have some dimension to them. I think I drew this one way too big. I think that's what was giving me an issue. Let me delete that one. And then I'm gonna draw like two more chain links on here. And then that should be all for the chain. Why does this one look so big? Like, am I tripping? Okay. So. That looks good. All right, and then I'm gonna draw like one more link in here. And I know, like I said, a lot of this is like overlap. See, that looks good. Look how amazing that looks, though. That was like so worth it. It was a pain, but it was so worth it. Okay, so now I got these two, and honestly, even if I were to take that away and just have like the line art, that's a pretty sick drawing.